Hello and welcome to the final support and training video for the California Applicants Attorneys Rating and Indemnity System, powered by CompCalc. This final video, Advanced Tips and Techniques, will cover some of the information and some of the modules, features, and functions not covered in earlier videos. I want to encourage all users of the CompCalc to take the 8 to 10 minutes per video required to listen and view the basic features and functions video, Rating with the CompCalc, as well as this video, Advanced Tips and Techniques. Before we begin, all users of the CompCalc are instructed to consult the DEU and legal counsel to confirm all information and data provided by the CompCalc. The CompCalc is an estimator, not a calculator. Further, it's not the intent of the provider or the developer of the CompCalc to provide legal analysis, advice, or recommendations, or to create an attorney-client relationship. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Again, we're in the Mac OS environment. I'm using Safari. I'm going to double click on the link and go right into. You'll see this, that load up feature, because once again, and this is part of Advanced Tips and Techniques, I want you to understand that this is an internet-based version of the CompCalc created for the California Applicants Attorneys Association. You have to have a internet connection because you're going up to Amazon Web Services, and you're on their server, their platform in the cloud. So if you don't have it, you won't have access to this version of the CompCalc. Okay, a couple things that I want to cover with you that I think are uniquely unique to the CompCalc. One of which is we have indexed arrays for general part of body and then detailed part of body. And what that means is when you select a particular part of body, it limits your options to the detailed part of body within that general part of body. And of course, we've made each one searchable so that it will limit your options. Second thing that we did was, I'm not sure if it was Bradshaw or Jason Marcus, not Mark Marcus, Jason Marcus, who asked us to be sure and include an option for occupational groups. And so you can see that we added that under View. Just go up there and click on that. We're going from occupational industries and occupations within those industries to the occupational groups. And again, we made those searchable. Now, what's unique about the CompCalc are two things. When you select a particular category, these are separate arrays. And what we've done is we've indexed them so that with the selection of a particular occupational industry, just like general part of body, it limits what your options are within that either part of body, general, or occupational industry. The second thing that we did that makes this unique is that we have bidirectional algorithms, and what's meant by that is that you don't have to go out and clear everything to start a new rating or to start a new hypothetical. And it doesn't matter if you're dealing with our PV COLA calculation, our present value COLA calculation for life pension in 100% cases, or if you're dealing with a rating string, or if you're dealing with average weekly wage for calculation PD, you can go ahead and scramble everything up and change it wherever you want. You don't have to clear and then input, which is, honestly, that is so mind-numbing. What we wanted to do with the CompCalc is make it intuitive, make it simple, and make it quick and efficient. And I think we've achieved that goal or objective. Okay, the next thing I want to cover with you are some of the modules that I really didn't go into at all. Let's start out with the future value, present value COLA calculation. Now we know that anytime you have a life pension or an award of 100%, that we have a COLA calculation that applies. And this is it. You want to start on this, but you can modify or change whatever you want, but I just want to go through this with you. We're going to say this is a 2017 date of injury. We're going to say that it's an 85% level of disability. Payment at first, or age at time of injury on this is going to be 50, but let's say it's 53, okay? Our COLA inflationary rate. Now let's talk about how we wrote the algorithm. I'm going to put it at 3.5. The way I want you to think about COLA and present value is what COLA gives, cost of living adjustment, that's an increase, present value takes away. Now the way that I wrote this algorithm, and I think it's consistent with the labor code, is we built an array and we made all the calculations depending on how you want it calculated, semi-annually, quarterly, or monthly, or annually. We're going to leave it at annually right now. We built an array based on life expectancy for 53. We built an array and we did, first of all, we stored in each one of those array boxes, we stored the COLA calculation at 3.5 going up until anticipated or calculated date of death per life expectancy. Then we went and reversed that, coming back and applied a 1% discount rate. So you might say, well, hold it, why not use a 2.5? It will not be the same calculation because of these calculations are a percentage over a period of time. So the way to look at this is, number one, it works. And I know I'm getting deep in the weeds here. But 3.5 COLA calculation is first calculated all the way up to the last date that the person is anticipated to live, given the age at first payment or age at date of injury. And there's a variance there that, understand that they may be different. But our calculation is life expectancy age, and we have to have the date of injury because we have to know what the indemnity rates are given that date of injury. Then we apply the COLA, increasing it, the present value, decreasing it based on an annual, and we have to select gender, male or female. Then we give you an option to put in an average weekly wage. Now, why are we putting in an average weekly wage? Because in a life pension, we know that first the PD is paid out, and we don't have a COLA calculation on the PD rate. What we do have, though, is a present value calculation on that PD rate. So it's going to reduce the PD back to present because right now we're evaluating it for settlement purposes. But I still give you the future value totals as well down here at the bottom. But we want to apply the present value and the COLA calculation. But the present value calculation applies to PD, which is paid out first in a life pension. The COLA calculation does not apply to the PD that's paid out first. Then once the PD is paid out, then we apply the COLA calculation as well as the present value calculation to that life pension payment. One of the things that is obviously part of the equation is you take the PD period based on the PD award. How long is it going to take to pay that out? You apply a present value calculation on that. Then you subtract that period from the life expectancy so you can calculate both the future value and the COLA and present value calculation of the life pension, again, based on life expectancy. So let's look at the output on this. Right now, our input is it's the 2017 date of injury. It's 85%. At the time of injury, the applicant was 53%. The COLA inflation rate that we chose, and it goes up in quarter points, is 3.5. Now, the defendant's going to want to be at 2.75 or 3. Why? Because that's increasing the award. The app attorney is going to want to be at 3.25 to 4%. I think 3.5 to 3% is probably, I think the DEU is using 3%, so we'll just apply that. Then a present value discount rate, 1.25 is probably acceptable on that. And the average weekly wage, now if the PD rate is maximum for the average weekly wage, then we're going to get the maximum PD rate, or if the average weekly wage justifies a rate of a maximum PD, that's the rate that will be applied given the date of injury. Okay? And let's look at our output, what our calculations are. This first column is the future value. The future value of this is $195,000 for PD. The future value of the life pension is $141,000 for a total future value of $337,000. But understand, we're going to apply a COLA calculation, and we're also going to apply a PD calculation. Now, you might think that with the COLA calculation, this number should go up considerably, but it's not going to. Why? Because on the PD, which is the lion's share, we have to pay out 85%. It has a present value of $183,585.22. That value, we apply a 1.25% present value. So we're reducing that from the future value of $195,242 to the present value, applying a 1.25 present value to $183,585. We have a COLA and PV calculation, but understand that this is into the future. So the way these numbers are going to behave is it's actually going to slightly reduce with a 3% COLA rate and a 1.25 discount rate. It's actually going to reduce the present value of the life pension slightly. The total value of this case, given those parameters, is $324,000. Now the total future value, though, is $337,000. Well, let's modify this to reflect a 0.75, so we're taking away less, and a 0.35, we're giving more. And you can see now the life pension, or the COLA calculation, has caught up with the present value discount rate and has actually passed it so that we have a net increase. The third column is our life expectancy calculation. The applicant at 53, male, is expected to live an additional 27 years. Of that, we're going to be paying PD for 12.91. Now, realize that this life pension is being discounted because we're trying to settle it in terms of present value and COLA calculation now. So for the first 12.91, almost 13 years, we're applying a 0.75 present value discount rate to the PD as well as the life pension. Then when we start paying the life pension, we apply finally a COLA calculation to that. And that's why these numbers are behaving the way that they are. Okay, so that is the present value COLA calculation. But what happens when we go to 100% a total award of disability? Here, what we're awarding the applicant is really TD for life, although it's in the labor code it's described as permanent disability calculated at the TD rate. So now watch what the numbers do here. This is where they just absolutely go out of control. Let's say that we're dealing with a 2015 date of injury, 100% award. We have a COLA calculation of, we're going to go with that 3% again, but I want you to watch what happens here. We're going to go with a PV calculation of 1.25. Now look at how these numbers are behaving. The future value of that of a life pension paid at TD rates for 27 years, that's his life expectancy of a 53-year-old. We're going to leave that at 53. Calculated annually, and I'm going to change this to monthly. Look at what happens. It kicks it up over $1 million. Now watch what happens when we change this to 2018 for a max. It's 2.168 million. And watch what happens when we reduce the age of the applicant here. Let's say he's 30 when he's 100%. Almost $5 million on this award. He's going to live another 47.8 years. You can see that these numbers just get out of control, but this is the value of the case. Now, what's coming in 2019 on the future value, present value COLA calculation is we're going to modify this, because this number right here could be as much as $40,000 off, high or low, depending on the applicant's date of birth, and the specific date of injury. The way that this algorithm works is we're using the age at first payment, not date of birth. The date of birth is going to be specific down to the day. Okay? If we were to use date of injury and date of birth, it would be calculating this down to the penny, because it would be calculated down to the day. What we're doing is we're using age, and given the date of birth, that can be anywhere from a day off to up to 12 months off. And we're using the year rather than the date of injury, which again could be a day to 12 months off. So for the purpose of settlement valuation, this calculator is dead on, because when you're dealing with almost $5 million and it's $40,000 off, that's nothing. $2 million, $10,000, $15,000 off, that's nothing. It gets you right in the ballpark as to the valuation of the case. But the DEU wants it to be a date certain. So we're going to modify this algorithm in 2020, and you'll see the update next year to reflect that this calculation for the COLA PV calculation for life pension and 100% awards will ask you to input the date of injury and the date of first payment, and then also the date of birth. And so we'll modify this calculation to be absolutely down to the penny. Okay, I also want to discuss a little bit about permanent disability and temporary disability. Let's first go to permanent disability. Now, one of the things that I told you is that our money charts have the ability to calculate, based on the average weekly wage, the PD or TD rate, never above the max or below the min, given the date of injury. Where no average weekly wage is specified, it will automatically have provide the maximum, given the date of injury. Let me take you through a couple of things here, because I want to show you, we modified the caption so that the user truly understands what the information being provided is. We're going to right now modify, I'm going to change this to 2014 through 19, and we're going to modify the average weekly wage. We're going to say that the applicant has an average weekly wage of $300. Now, right now, given the date of injury of 14 through 19, the default is maximum. But we're going to say that the applicant only makes $300. I moved my arrow over here and I clicked on it. Bam, $300. That's a $200 rate. It's neither maximum nor minimum. Now we're going to change this to $100. And you can see it modifies it to $160. But the PD rate caption says this is the minimum rate, because we want you to know. It automatically takes that minimum rate, multiplies it by the number of weeks, and gives you the indemnity, total indemnity. Okay, now that's the PD module. Let's go over, and I want to show you what we did in the TD module. I'm going back up to the navigation bar. I'm going to switch this over to the temporary disability module. Again, realize that all indemnity is calculated never above the max or below the min given the date of injury. Assumes the default at max given the date of injury. We're in 2007. You can see the information being provided. The TD maximum rate for 207 is $881.66. The average weekly wage to calculate that max TD is $1322.49. Let's go ahead and let's change this to a more current date. We're going to go to 2000. Let's go to 2016. That'll give us some, because we're going to calculate. I want to show you one of the things that I've always hated to do is in the old days, we used to use a whiz wheel and we used to spin out dates and count between dates or add up number of months and number of days, and it was just a nightmare. To calculate a temporary disability indemnity period, we would go ahead and first count up the number of days. Then we'd take the average weekly wage, multiply it by 2/3, take that that indemnity rate, weekly rate, and multiply that or divide it by 7 to come up with a daily rate, then we'd multiply that daily rate times the number of days that we've already calculated to come up with our TD indemnity rate. Invariably, the applicant attorney and the defense attorney would have different numbers, and we'd have to figure out whose math was actually correct. Well, the CompCalc takes care of all that, and let me point out a few things here. I've got some general information regarding the 104 weeks and how it applies, but this is just a real easy way to calculate everything. First, we put in the date of injury, and you can see, because the date of injury is 2016, the start date has got to be something after 2016. We're going to go ahead and let's modify this to start it in 2016, and we're going to go with January 15th, 2016. We want the ending date to be, we'll go with 2017, and we'll go forward to June 15th. And you can see what it's just done for us. It's automatically calculated the number of weeks. That's important information because we need to know how many weeks are left in the 104-week cap. Total number of days, that's important because we want to be able to check our calculation. And it gives us the total TD indemnity liability. But let's say that the applicant doesn't have a TD rate of $1,100 because he's not earning almost $1,700 a week. So what we're going to do is we're going to modify this to say a more realistic amount, $800. Let's go $900 so we can check the calculations. And you can see the TD rate now is $600. We have our period from January 15th. It doesn't change the date, but what has changed is the period of temporary disability liability. One of the things I want you to know about this algorithm is it assumes that the applicant became or was determined PNS, permanent stationary maximum medical improvement, as of 6/15/17. Per the labor code, I wrote the algorithm to include the first day of temporary disability but exclude the last day. So if you're an applicant attorney, realize that if you have an ongoing period of TD, in other words, the applicant, all you want to do is calculate a retroactive period with an ongoing liability for TD. You want to increase that by 1 day because you'll be shorting your client by 1 day entitlement. So you'd want to, if the period that you wanted to calculate was through 6/15, you'd want to put 6/16 on that because that's how the algorithm is written. Of course, if the applicant's PNS as of that date and you have a medical and you're just calculating a retroactive period because now you've accepted liability on the claim, then of course you would go ahead and put that date in there. It would calculate it for you. Okay, let me see if there's anything else. You can go through and play with death benefits and some of the other things that you might want to mess with. Realize you can save and export your COLA calculations as well as your indemnity or your PD indemnity rating strings as well. Okay, that concludes the third video. Hopefully these videos are of some assistance in using the CompCalc. Again, if you have any questions or comments, if you see something that or have an idea that might be added to it, or you see something that doesn't seem right or needs an explanation, feel free to just reach out under contacts under the help and send us an email or give me a call, and I'll try to either answer the questions or take a look at what's going on or explain to you how you can accomplish what you wish to accomplish. Again, coming out in 2020, the update will include a date certain for date of birth and a date certain for date of injury and a date certain for first payment for calculation of PV COLA for life pension and for 100%. Okay, thanks so much.